Salawat. Assalamu alaikum. Today I will be reciting a part of Surah Yasin for my great grandma who passed away 1 year ago, and to bless the souls of all marhumin. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أحترهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون سواء عليهم أأنذرتهم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشرهم بمغفرة وأجر قريب إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين. صلوات.
Thank you, Kumail. I can now ask Imran Kimchi to come and give a short talk on the 8th Imam. Please recite the salawat.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. Tonight I'm going to do a short talk about Imam Rida alayhi salam. The 8th Imam was born on the 11th of Dhul Qadda and sadly passed away on the 28th of Safar. He is buried in Mashhad, Iran. Imam Rida alayhi salam had one sibling, a sister with the name of Masuma. His mother is Najma Khatun and his father was the 7th Imam, Imam Musa al-Kazim alayhi salam. He became the Imam at the age of 35 and was the Imam for the next 20 years. He married a woman named Sabika and had one daughter and one son. The Imam alayhi salam had amazing akhlaq. He would never interrupt anyone when they were speaking, and he was such a generous man that when it was dark, the Imam would give the poor people food and money. Also, he could speak to animals. One day, when the Imam was taking a walk, he saw a hunter who was about to kill a deer. The deer was trying to get away. The deer told the Imam that she wanted to feed her hungry babies. The Imam asked the hunter to free the deer, and once she fed her babies, she would come back. The hunter did not think the deer would come back. The hunter waited with Imam Rida alayhi salam for the deer to return, and the hunter was very surprised when the deer came back. Then he let her go free. At the time of the Imam, Ma'mun was the Caliph. When Ma'mun returned to Khorasan in Iran, he realized that he wasn't popular and people really hated him because he had killed his own brother. He also knew that people all over the Muslim world loved Imam Rida alayhi salam because he was the descendant of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and also because he was well known for his knowledge and piety. When he sent people to Medina to force the Imam to come, he sent people to Medina to force the Imam to come to Khorasan. When the Imam arrived, Ma'mun declared that he was going to be his successor. In this way, Ma'mun succeeded in fooling the people and keeping them from fighting and opposing him. The Imam tried very hard to refuse, but in the end he was threatened with his life. The Imam was very sad to leave Medina, and he also knew that he'll never return. Ma'mun pretended to welcome the Imam very warmly and began offering him to take over the Khalifa. The Imam alayhi salam refused, and he knew Ma'mun was a man who had killed his own brother just to become Caliph. The Imam alayhi salam refused, and he knew there was no way he would actually let Imam Rida alayhi salam take over and become the caliph. Ma'mun then forced him and said that if he would not agree, he would have the Imam killed. Finally, the Imam accepted, however there were some conditions. The Imam will not appoint anyone as a governor, and the Imam will not dismiss anyone. Ma'mun accepted these conditions because he knew he could still use the Imam's name. Later on in the Imam's life, there was a drought in Khorasan. No rain fell, and people began suffering from thirst and hunger as they could not grow any crops. By then, the Imam had become very popular, and Ma'mun was worried that the people respected the Imam more than him. Ma'mun decided to ask the Imam to go out in public and pray for rain. Ma'mun was sure it wouldn't rain because of the drought, but he hoped when people saw the Imam praying and no rain falling, it would damage the reputation of the Imam in the eyes of the people. The next day, all the people gathered under the open sky, and the Imam came and gave a special supplication. Suddenly, the clear skies began to change and the clouds began to appear. Then it began to rain heavily. And as it continued to pour, everyone began talking of the miracle and how special the Imam was and how closely connected he was to Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ma'mun became very angry. He tried to humiliate the Imam, but instead the Imam alayhi salam became even more popular. Ma'mun was now very worried. Day by day he was becoming more and more popular than he was. He now thought of another plot. Ma'mun invited the priests and scholars of different faiths and asked them to debate with the Imam and ask him the most difficult questions they could. By this, Ma'mun hoped to lower the image of the Imam in the eyes of the people. When the debate began, the Imam began reciting passages from their books, such as the Torah and the Injil. The scholars of other faiths were amazed at the Imam's knowledge of their own books. Some of the scholars converted to Islam, and others were just spellbound and said, "We had no idea that someone like you existed amongst the Muslim scholars." Ma'mun felt intense regret when the debates were over. He now decided to remove the Imam as soon as possible. Ma'mun then ordered the Imam to be poisoned. He pretended he was shocked and grieved at the passing away of the Imam. He showed the people that he was mourning for the Imam, and he arranged for him to be buried. In the story, the 8th Imam alayhi salam had a debate and he won. These debates that the Imam alayhi salam took part in is something that he is very famous for. The debates spread amongst the great figures of religions, Islamic schools and other schools. He always won his debates. The discussions were mostly about the fundamentals of religion, and Sunnis and Shias sometimes had arguments about imamat. Finally, I would like to end on this wonderful quote by Imam Rida alayhi salam. A believer does not leave aside what is right when in anger, and does not go astray in happiness, and does not take more than he or she deserves while in power. Salawat.
And thank you so much, Imran, for sharing that story with us. Now, welcome to our very first T4C debate. And without further ado, if I could ask the teams to come and take their places, and I'm going to hand over to Tehseen. Thank you.
So I guess the four goes first, right?
And between the two.
Oh, I'll go first.
Okay. So is it off now?
It's on now. Switch is just here.
Okay, I'll switch it off. Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Welcome to Time for Change's first ever debate. The motion that we're discussing today is this House believes that all social media should be banned for every single person under the age of 18. Oh, sorry. Don't know who that is. Okay. So can I ask you all to come and move forward so you can see the screen, because it's really important for you to be able to interact with today's program. It's really important for you to be able to see the screen. So if you can kind of move towards the middle a little bit, and come forwards, you'll be able to see. Okay. I'll put your phones on silent. Okay. Perfect. Good, you can see? Perfect. My phone on silent there. Okay, so let me start off by explaining the format for today's debate. We have the team who will be proposing the motion. They believe that all social media should be banned, and that here is presented by Abida and Dr. Shabir Muhammad. Abida will be allowed to propose the motion. She will have precisely 7 minutes to convince you all that all social media should be banned. Okay? Please listen to her arguments carefully. Abida, when you only have 1 minute left, I will signal to you that you only have 1 minute, okay? Once your 7 minutes are over, we will have to cut you off if you continue to speak. After Abida has finished her 7 minutes, we will then hand over to the team who will be against the motion, Fatima and Hassan Sansara. Hassan will then have 7 minutes to speak about why social media should not be banned, and hopefully convince you all of his arguments. Once the two teams have had a chance to speak for 7 minutes, we can then hand over back to the team who will be speaking for the motion, and they will be able to rebut any of the arguments from the opposing team. And then lastly, we'll hand over back to the team against for another 4 minutes. So, we really would like you guys to get involved and to interact with the discussion. So you'll see behind me, we have a discussion board. So if you go on your phones to vvox.app, it's not an app, it's a website, vvox.app, VEVOX.app. If you go into there, you'll be able to see, to join the discussion, you'll see the ID number behind me. I'll just give you a moment to be able to log in, and you'll be able to add your comments. If you go to the kind of little icon that looks like a message, if you go there, you can type in your comments, your suggestions, your arguments as the debate goes on. And those comments will be posted live behind me. Obviously, they'll be moderated. But they'll all appear behind me, okay? And at the end, we'll even have a chance to vote. But also using the app, you can scroll through other people's comments, and you can also like them as well. So please do interact as it goes on. At the end, you'll have a chance to add your own comments and have a chance to speak as well before we have the final vote, okay? And we're going to just do it at the end. Yeah. Okay. Everybody got the app? Everybody ready? Bismillah. Ready? Okay. Bismillah. Abida, I will give you 7 minutes to begin the debate, inshallah. I'm just, don't start yet.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Today we stand before you to argue in favour of the motion. This House believes all social media should be banned for individuals under the age of 18. Firstly, let us clarify what we mean by social media. We are referring to platforms where individuals share aspects of their lives online, including pictures, videos, and tweets. This does not include messaging services like WhatsApp or traditional text messages. Social media, in this context, refers to means of interactions among people in which they create, share, and/or exchange information and ideas in virtual communities and networks. Examples include Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and other similar platforms. One significant concern is the impact of social media on the attention span of young children. Platforms like TikTok and even Roblox, which are highly engaging and addictive, can alter children's brains and behaviours, making them more prone to conditions such as ADHD. The constant need for instant gratification and the overwhelming amount of sensory input is detrimental to their developing minds. According to the Pew Research Centre, 31% of teenagers have said they lost focus in class with the urge to check their phones, and another research conducted by Microsoft has found that our attention span has become shorter than that of a goldfish. For context, the attention span of a goldfish is 8 seconds. The ability to discipline yourself to delay gratification in the short term in order to enjoy greater rewards in the long term is the indispensable prerequisite for success. Children on social media are vulnerable to various dangers, including exposure to burglars and predators. The anonymity of the internet allows malicious individuals to exploit and harm unsuspecting minors. Moreover, social media is a breeding ground for the spreading of false information, which can mislead and negatively influence young minds. For example, Shamima Begum was a teenager who began being heavily active on Twitter. She was influenced by extremist Islamist terrorists and left her Bangladeshi family to travel to Syria with 2 other friends to join the Islamic State group based on false information of an awaiting utopia given to her by the veil of social media. Social media fosters an environment where individuals constantly compare themselves to others. This comparison often leads to negative body image issues, especially among impressionable young users who are still developing their sense of self-worth. What they see is often a small, curated portion of people's lives, typically showcasing only the good parts, leading to unrealistic standards and dissatisfaction with their own lives. A survey by the Mental Health Foundation showed that 4 in 10 teenagers have said images on social media cause them to worry about body image. The prevalence of social media has led to a decline in face-to-face communication skills. According to a study conducted by the American Psychological Association, 45% of teens reported feeling overwhelmed by social media, which has led to decreased in-person interactions with friends and family. Young people are increasingly engaging online rather than in person, which hampers their ability to develop essential social skills and form meaningful, real-world interactions. While social media can be effective in spreading messages about critical issues, such as the current genocide in Gaza, it is not necessarily beneficial for children under 18 to be exposed to such content. It is the responsibility of parents and guardians to inform and educate their children about significant world events. Islam emphasizes the importance of knowledge and awareness, but also emphasizes where the knowledge is obtained from. Social media is a poor source of knowledge, often filled with biases and misinformation. Many teens across the world have developed an addiction to social media and use it as a way to escape reality or numb their emotions. Allah warns us about becoming attached to worldly concepts in Surah Maryam, verse 42. Why do you worship that which neither hears nor sees and is of no avail to you in any way? This verse serves as a profound reminder that our focus should not be on transient, materialistic distractions, but rather on what holds true value in life. By becoming overly attached to these platforms, young individuals may neglect their spiritual and emotional well-being, leading to a void that cannot be filled by superficial online interactions. Therefore, it is imperative to guide our youth towards more meaningful and enriching pursuits, emphasizing real-life connections and spiritual development over virtual engagement. A notable example of this influence is Andrew Tate, a controversial figure who has gained substantial popularity among young boys through social media. Tate's content often glorifies materialism, hypermasculinity, and aggressive behavior, which can negatively impact impressionable young minds. His rhetoric can lead boys to adopt unhealthy attitudes towards wealth, relationships, and self-worth, prioritizing superficial success over genuine character and integrity. The allure of Tate's lifestyle, heavily promoted through platforms like Instagram and TikTok, can steer boys away from meaningful personal development and spiritual growth, leading them instead towards a shallow pursuit of fame and fortune. In conclusion, while social media has its merits in raising awareness and connecting people, the negative impacts on young minds far outweighs these benefits. The risk of altered brain development, exposure to dangers, body image issues, reduced face-to-face communication, and the spread of false information are too significant to ignore. Moreover, the influence of social media personalities like Andrew Tate can lead the youth astray, promoting materialism and unhealthy attitudes as opposed to promoting their spiritual and emotional well-being. Therefore, we strongly believe that banning social media for individuals under the age of 18 is a necessary step to protect and nurture our future generations. Thank you.
Abida. You still had 1 minute and 5 seconds left, so you managed to cram all of that in. Well done to you. Some really, really convincing arguments there. Thank you to those of you who have used the message board behind me. Some interesting comments on there. Please follow along on your phones, and you can interact on there and like each other's messages, and inshallah we'll read a few out towards the end, but I don't want to prejudice your arguments too much by picking a few out from now. Okay, so if you're all ready, we can welcome Hassan to the stand to put his arguments forward against the motion.
Everyone hear me? Yeah, we're good. All right. All ready? Today I stand before you to argue against the proposition that social media should be banned for all individuals under 18. While the concerns surrounding social media usage among people are valid, it can be argued that there are too many positives of social media for under 18s to be completely banned, and that enforcing a ban could be referred to as cracking a walnut with a sledgehammer, as it is mainly excessive use of social media that leads to its negative outcomes to both under 18s and over 18s alike. As well as this, the very effectiveness of banning social media could be questioned based on usage of under 13s today, despite the already existing under 13 age limit. So let me expand further on these points. First of all, benefits of social media. Firstly, social media has become an integral part of modern communication. It connects family and friends, fosters communities, and provides a platform for self-expression. For young people, these platforms can be invaluable. According to a report by Common Sense Media, 81% of teenagers use social media, with 70% of them using multiple platforms. These connections allow them to stay in touch with their peers, share their interests, and even engage in social causes. By banning social media, we would effectively isolate them from a significant part of their social lives, potentially leading them to loneliness, disconnection, and hence negatively impacting their mental health. According to Statista, on October 2021, 69% of under 18 said that social media aided them to stay in touch with their peers and was good for their mental health. Furthermore, social media offers educational opportunities. Platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok are not just for entertainment, they're also rich sources of educational content. And a research organization found that 59% of teenagers have used social media to research and learn new things, such as tutorials, joining study groups, and collaborating on projects. Banning social media would essentially strip away these valuable resources, hindering the learning process in an increasingly digital world especially. Social media also allows the youth to voice their opinions and connect with the world around them quicker and more powerfully than any other platform, in my opinion. This is demonstrated by Greta Thunberg, who I'm guessing everyone knows here now, because in 2018, she began a school strike, sitting outside Swedish Parliament every Friday to encourage politicians to care more about the environment. Photos of this went viral, inspiring the global Fridays for Future movement, which on September 2019, according to the Times magazine, was joined by 4 million people globally. The same year, significant change happened among teens on social media in the UK, as a report from Ofcom discovered that in 2019, 12 to 15-year-olds had an 18% engagement of shares and comments to support causes and organizations, compared to only 12% in 2018. This significant increase in only 1 year was dubbed the Greta effect by Ofcom in their report published that year, and clearly portrays the positive impact of social media by under 18s. Secondly, to talk about excessive use of social media, it is undeniable that excessive use of social media significantly impacts negatively on the mental health of children. For example, a study by Bernardo's concluded that, and I quote, "Clear association between time spent on social media and mental health problems. Whilst 12% of children who spent no time on social networking sites had symptoms for mental health or ill mental health, the figures rise to 27% when they spent 3 hours or more on these sites." And whilst we're talking about the effects on mental health on children, numerous studies show that there are similar effects on adults above 18, such as a 2018 study from the University of Pennsylvania, who showed that a group with, basically had two groups, a group with 10-minute limits on each platform per day, showed a significant decrease in loneliness and depression compared to a control group which was just allowed to continue social media usage as per norm. This shows a positive correlation between excessive social media use and mental health, but it also shows how it's not just under 18s who are affected by social media or negatively affected, which basically means that banning under 18s wouldn't even be addressing the whole problem in the first place. Lastly, the actual effectiveness of a social media ban for under 18s could be really scrutinized. For example, research shows from Ofcom in 2019 that 70% of children aged 12 to 15 in the UK are using at least one social media platform, such as Facebook, Snapchat, or Instagram. And the fact that these are also 12-year-olds show that they're going past the age limit of 13, even though there's a 13-year age limit. I can't get my words out, but it's fine. Which basically shows that a ban would be ineffective in stopping under 18s accessing social media in the first place. This is also backed by another case study in 2017 that showed among under 13s, 78% were using at least one social media network despite the age requirement. So these figures obviously show that children are able and willing to break age limits to access social media, which further suggests that making the proposed solution of raising the age limit is a really ineffective attempt to stop youth from accessing or being exposed from social media. So in conclusion, rather than imposing a blanket ban on social media for these under 18s, we should focus on creating a balanced approach that incorporates regulation, education, and parental involvement. And by doing so, we can ensure that young people still reap the rewards or the positives from social media, whilst also mitigating the risks. An outright ban would not only be impractical and ineffective, but can also lead to detrimental effects on social, educational, and mental well-being of young people. Thank you.
Really super. You still had 1 minute and 15 left. So you did really well, really well. I think this time limit thing seems to be keeping you both on your toes. So I'm really pleased to see that. Thank you so much for all of the comments and the interactions. I'm really liking your discussion behind me there. Please do continue. We are on to the second part of the debate where Dr. Shabir will have a chance to rebut the arguments that he's heard. So, without further ado, I would like to hand. We've only got 4 minutes.
Only 4 minutes. That's a bit unfair, isn't it?
Well, I'm sure you've got
Anyway,
to say so.
yeah, I've got lost. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, everybody, my brothers, elders, sisters, friends, children. So, you will have noticed that our opponents basically agreed with most of what we said. They said excessive social media is bad for people of all age groups. Our argument is that it's particularly bad for young people because their brains are developing. They haven't developed their sense of self-worth, they haven't developed an identity, they haven't developed and clarified their thoughts. So the excessive use in that group is particularly bad. Now, you wouldn't have excessive use of social media if you'd banned social media in the first place. Their argument is that despite the ban for under 13-year-olds still use social media. But if it wasn't banned for under 13-year-olds, then there'd be so many more people using it. So bans do work. It's like saying, alcohol is bad, but because everybody will get it, we won't ban it. That's not the Islamic position. Drugs are bad, but we won't ban them because people can still get hold of them. That argument falls flat if you look at it that way. In the same way, social media is a tool, okay? And if you use it in small amounts, as the comments have mentioned, it can be beneficial. The problem is, it's very hard. It's a tool that's designed to make you use it more and more. The social algorithms that these companies actually sell to children encourage them just to keep doom scrolling again and again. And that creates a change in the chemicals in the brain. You get activation of dopamine. There's lots of evidence to show that you get activation of dopamine centers in the brain, which encourages people to look for that quick fix, for that quick enjoyment. And that is particularly bad for children. Research has been done that shows that actually if children can learn to control their impulses, they do much better in life in terms of lots of different successes, in terms of building relationships. They also say that social media is a way of building communities, but there's a famous joke that you might have heard where a person had 1,000 Facebook friends, but when he died, how many people turned up? Not one. Okay? So the problem with the friends that you make on social media is that they may not be of the quality. You know, I grew up in an era where social media was not freely available. We actually had to make an effort to meet up with friends, and we had to call them on landline, and and those friendships last a whole lifetime. Social media friendships do not always last a lifetime. The other problem is that they say that social media is a good way of building communities, but it's also a very good way of breaking communities. It's very easy to be, to be a bully when you are not face to face with somebody. You cannot, there is something about being face to face and touching the other person that encourages interaction and good community building. So to conclude, just like indicator stalks on BMWs and the hopes of Arsenal fans of ever winning the Premiership, social media for under 18s is absolutely useless. I rest my case.
Thank you so much. Still had 30 seconds. Okay. More and more comments coming up. Yep. Interesting. Please keep them coming. Okay, so let us go for our final speech, which will be made by Fatima. She will also have 4 minutes. Without further ado, Bismillah.
Assalamu everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Public speaking is not my strength. I'm sorry. In advance, I'm going to do the best I can. Very valid points. Thank you very much. I 100% agree. We 100% agree that excessive use is detrimental. But the under 13s who are using, for example, you said that bans work for under 13s, and maybe, yes, there's less 13-year-olds using the platforms because of this ban in force. My worry is that those 13-year-olds who are on there, because of the lack of regulation and things like this, are actually accessing the full brunt of all of the social media. There's no regulation, they've got full access to it, and this, I think, is more detrimental than allowing a regulated form of social media for everyone to use. So this way, not only are we keeping the under 13s or under 18s safer, but as Hassan said in his speech, adults are also affected by social media, mental health issues and things like this. And this way, with regulation and education, we're actually keeping everyone safe, not just the under 18s. It's all well and good to say bans work, but under 18s or anyone, where there's a will, there's a way. They are going to find a way to get on that platform if they want to, without their parents knowing or without their teachers knowing and things like this. So that's the danger with it. And like you rightly said, that these things are a tool, and any tool, in my opinion, can be used for good or bad. Social media is very powerful, especially with the current climate, with the things going on in Palestine and the communication that we have and the rallying that we do, and all of these things are really good strengths of social media. And especially our 16 plus, some of them leave school, start new jobs, and I think they find these tools have to be essential for them to have access to this, to be competitive and to integrate appropriately with society. So yes, it's a tool, but rather than taking it away completely and disarming our youth, I think we would strengthen them more by allowing them to use it with the regulation and the education, and also digital literacy, where we can learn tools of how to recognize fake accounts and fake news and guard ourselves against this. 100% agree with the guarding of our youth as well. I love the comment about the honesty online, because that is so true. We will definitely be more honest online because we're behind a screen. And I think that's a strength too. Sometimes I think we're not honest enough, I guess. But that was just a side point and thoughts on the comment that I read on the screen. I'm done. Thank you very much.
To thank you all for your contributions. I know that it's not easy to come up and speak, and you both teams made some amazing points for and against. Now it's time for all of you. I know you've been commenting behind me and liking each other's comments. I wasn't allowed social media until a certain age, but I just got it without my parents knowing. When you tell people not to do something, they want to do it more. I hope that's not you, Mariam. I'm just joking. Okay, so now it's time for you. If anyone would like to make a comment or put forward your own view, we would love to hear it, and then we can maybe discuss amongst ourselves the views for and against. So anybody have... Interestingly, it's much easier for you all to type a comment than it is to put up your hand right now. So also I was thinking on the subject of banning how many times I've eaten something in the chapel when I shouldn't have, and I think they're using it. Okay. Yes, any comment or view that anybody would like to express? Anybody feel very strongly about this? They'd like to say something? Please.
I think for me, I personally think the world was better off without social media. And that's not restricted to under or over 18. I'm talking very generally. I do understand there's a lot of positive as well in social media. So I'm not disregarding that. But I feel like in terms of our own well-being and the communication with people and so on and so forth, that's really affected it. And for me, there's one verse of the Quran maybe that reflects my opinion the best, and I'm going to paraphrase here because I don't know the Arabic, but when God is talking about the prohibition of alcohol, and he says that there is some benefits in it, but the harm outweighs the benefit, and for me, social media is a bit like that. And I think phone, not even social media, just this mobile phone, there is some good in it, but I think that the damage it's causing is much greater than the good that it's bringing.
Somebody else wanted to talk.
Just saying that it's,
Okay, ignore my comment.
I guess what struck me is that you said that adults, the studies are showing adults are already suffering as an impact of the result of excessive social media as our children. Now, those adults in those studies are potentially adults who had social media much later in their lives, not when they were 13 or under 13. So if our kids are already starting off earlier, and there's going to be impact starting from age 13, more or less, of excessive use of social media, by the time they're adults, actually, they're way ahead in terms of the impact in terms it's going to have on their mental health. So that's what really struck me, because it's already showing that adults are struggling, and those adults now currently never had that amount of social media that we have now. So actually, if the kids start a bit younger, by the time they go into adults, there's lots of issues. What's people giggling about? What's on there? Stop search for all people. I hope you're referring to me there.
Can I just ask Sheikh Haider, do any of the Ayatollahs use social media? Do they have a platform, and do the Urafa recommend the use of social media?
Just before I hand over, interestingly, a few years ago, I remember Ayatollah Makarim Shirazi had issued a fatwa of Facebook being haram, right? But I think it was on his Facebook page.
You mean for children or for themselves? I haven't heard something related to this topic in Fatawa, but for generally, yeah, some of them, like Sheikh Nasser Makarim Shirazi, he said it's haram. I'm not sure, maybe on Facebook, maybe on Twitter. I don't know, in this case, it's very difficult to decide, I think. It's not a fiqhi topic to give a fatwa, it's, yeah.
Nice try, Doc. Didn't work.
Anybody have any views agreeing that social media actually, has benefit, and especially for young people under 18s? Anyone feel that it's actually really important, especially in the current climate? Would like to hear a view, for the against team. Yeah, say it.
Yeah, I think if you look around today, I think we're a good example of why social media is good. I don't think you have Time for Change without WhatsApp. I don't think you have Bain without WhatsApp or Instagram. You don't have AppStocks without WhatsApp or Instagram. And I think that's the perfect example of how social media can create real life communities. Uncle spoke about we don't do face-to-face interactions because of social media, but I think that's a false narrative. Social media actually organizes and mobilizes a lot of good movements as well. All the Palestine protests are organized due to social media. So yeah, I think it would be quite drastic to just say, oh, just outright ban social media for 18-year-olds or under 18-year-olds, or even to limit the use of social media, because then you come into the realm of censorship, which is what companies like Meta do and Twitter does or X does. So yeah, I think I'm against the idea of banning these things.
Yeah, just to add to that, I was also going to talk about Palestine, but I think it applies to a lot of things. But in some ways, it makes you feel not alone. I feel like it's actually quite empowering to see what people are doing all over the world, and it kind of makes you feel like a community, like you're united, even though people are across the globe. And I feel like without that, we would feel very demotivated and very isolated. So I think it's very important in moderation and used well. Yeah.
I think an outright ban is hard to enforce, but there are a number of problems. But what would be useful is to have some sort of restriction, and a meaningful one. You have companies which take care of their own censorship, and they end up censoring a lot of important ideas, for example, the whole Palestine movement. So I think certain restrictions are required in order to make it safer to use for younger children. But they've got to be decided properly, and the companies running these social medias, for example Meta, have to be taken or have to be held accountable.
Sorry, I just wanted to add to that, to say that, was it Imam Ali who said that, don't bring up your children in, as to how you were brought up, bring them up in the time that they are. And social media is one of those. And I think as parents, we need to take a responsibility to regulate that. And yes, it is out there, but when we think about, COVID and how Joe Wicks kept us going, fitness levels, mental health, so many of our mental health patients had access to social media to let them know that they're not alone. There was resources out there to keep them going through that time. So I think, if regulated, like Fatima said, it is really good.
Assalamu alaikum. I know we're focusing on social media, but let's look at other examples in our houses. So we have televisions, we have radios, we have all sorts of things. Do we ban those items? Because it depends on what you view, whether it's halal, haram, or what you listen to, whether it's halal, haram. So should we not just view social media in the same context? Because if someone, an under 18, listens to, I don't know, Sheikh Nuru's clips and stuff, or follows Coedge or Time for Change and comments on that, is that such a bad thing? I don't think anyone's going to step in and say, no, ban it, because that's not. If they're doing other things, and then yes, you can. So I think the outright ban is draconian, as someone alluded to, where it's more of the where it goes. But the bigger point I wanted to make is that for under 18s and the parent-child relationship, at home, if I listen to haram things or watch haram things and my children are there, that's not their fault. That's all on me. So when I'm on social media, maybe my kids are looking over my shoulder and I'm listening to Sayyid Amar or this or that, that's not an issue. Or if I'm looking at, I don't know, Time for Change, strawberry picking or whatever, that's not, I just remember because that was on the screen. No, I'm not here. That's not an issue. But if I'm looking at haram stuff, then that's an issue. So the banning is not what we need to do. It's we need to look at ourselves to see what our children are doing. I think that's the bigger thing. Sorry.
So I was going to say something similar, but just adding to that point. So I know like a lot of parents are like, oh my God, social media is so bad. My kid's on social media. So obviously he already mentioned the point about being that role model, right? But on top of that, I feel like a lot of the issues for kids on social media are things like, like for example, cyberbullying, etc. I feel like it's important for the parents to build a relationship with their children where the children will come to you and say, someone's messaged me this is happening. Because if you build that foundation, then the negative effects of social media can be reduced because they know they have a support system.
Okay, so now we've heard a few arguments.
All four you guys did really well. I think because it's under 18, I think it's a very broad spectrum. I think few people mentioned COVID. I think COVID also allowed many people to slow down from, the daily life that we had, concentrate on what's important, spending time as a family, and maybe show us that we don't really need social media as much as we do. For me, this debate also reminded me of when we talk about the age of bulugh, where each child will have different needs. They will mature at a different age, and for me that's what it is. It's really important for the parents to be educated. What will work for one child won't work for the other, and communication between the parent and the children is key, really.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't mention COVID during my talk, but during COVID, what actually happened, if we look at it, social media wasn't banned, was it? There was actually more social media. And what happened during COVID is that the personal contact was effectively banned. And what happened to people's health during COVID? It went the mental health went much, much worse. So actually, social media made mental health worse because you banned, face-to-face meetings, isn't it? That's the problem. You see, those people who grew up, like Zinat said, in the age before social media, we know, the relationships that you make on a face-to-face basis is completely different to the ones you make on social media. And we would strongly encourage people to do more of the face-to-face meetings. And this is why we excluded WhatsApp, because WhatsApp is a great tool to arrange meetings like this, for example. It's a good tool to get your communities joining together and being active. But it's the other things where you can be anonymous and make comments and be harmful to other people. That's where the problem starts.
This is a comment that's neither for nor against. I've got 3 quick points that I wanted to just add. The first thing is that, Hussein, if you're watching TV or listening to the radio, unless you've got headphones on, it's a collective thing. We all remember those days when we only had 4 channels and we all sat together as a family and everyone watched together. So I think there's a bit of a difference in having this, World Wide Web and the computer in your hand that all of our children do, as opposed to a collective thing where we do things together. The second point that I would like to make is that, there's a lot of time wasting going on. And there are only so many TikTok videos that we need to watch about how to peel garlic, because, it doesn't contribute anything to... I know I've watched these life... I don't even have any of this stuff, but I have watched life hacks on my husband's phone. And I can't remember a single one of those hacks, I'll be honest. They look great at the time, but I can't remember any of them afterwards. So I think there's a lot of time wasted, and I think, that time could be put to better use.
Well done to everyone. And also, so some people have been saying how adults get worse mental health due to social media, and even though they didn't have it as children. But I think if you just learn to use it in a productive way, it would, we kind of, as kids, you kind of grow up learning how to use it in a better way rather than, and avoiding the bad stuff on social media. So
We'll do one last comment.
I'd just like to disagree with the point made that social media affected our mental health negatively over COVID. I think that it may have salvaged our mental health, in fact, because we otherwise wouldn't have as much communication, and it was as close as we could get to normal physical interaction. All of these video meetings let us sort of see people, talk to them, and it was closer to being in person than just over WhatsApp, which is what the ban would have. So I think it is important to see it from the other side, that maybe without social media we would have been much more isolated, and in that there are problems, like you can create these echo chambers where you just have your own opinions cycling around in your head and the opinions of those around you, whereas social media exposes you to other people and to other opinions and other ways of thinking.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed that discussion on the floor and hearing all that kind of variety of thoughts and opinions. And Shalina, you have to teach me that garlic hack later. I've not seen that. And thank you for all your comments behind me as well. I've been keeping up with those, some of them really funny. Yes, okay, so we're now ready to move to our vote, okay? So if you have a look on your Vvox app, you will be able to see that the vote is now open, okay? If you go onto the app, you'll see this house believes that all social media should be banned for under 18s, and you will have the chance there to vote for or against. Based on your opinion. Because they all did great, so.
Ooh, really? agree. I mean, we don't agree.
No, it's like I don't know about But yeah, really good point.
Very interesting.
Please vote now. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The vote is now closed. I'm pleased to announce against the motion 1. Well done to you. What? Excellent. 68.3%, 68.63% voted against, and 31.37%, all the oldies amongst us, voted for. Well done, well done. Let's have a big salawat for all our contestants.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Make sure you get.
Can we have a last round of applause for the participant, please? Thank you so much, everyone. That was really amazing. If I can just have a couple of minutes of silence to do my announcements, and we can go and have refreshments. Thank you so much. So thank you to all the participants. Thank you. This was our first debate. If you enjoyed it and if you'd like more debates, please let us know, and any suggestion for more topics would be most welcome as well. Okay, so before I carry on with my announcements, today we are celebrating the birthdays of anybody who's had a birthday in the month of May. So I'm going to ask the children first, and by children I mean under 18. I just have to be clear. If any children had their birthday in the month of May, could you stand up or come at the front? Whatever you're comfortable with. Stand up. Okay, Zoya. Alia, it's today. Oh, I know somebody else whose birthday is today. Oh, he's good. He's already standing up. Oh, no, he's hiding now. John? Yasir, is it your birthday in May as well? Or are you just standing next to John? Yeah. I think, did I hear Yusuf's birthday? Was it May? Oh, yeah, I can see him stand up. You want to come at the front, or are you happy there? Okay. Okay, so now I would like, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the mic to the girls to lead the happy birthday song, please, and everybody can join. And you stay standing, all of you. Okay. Give it to her, give it to her. Give it to mommy. I gave it to the boys last time, so I was looking for the girls this time. All together, okay, fine. You don't need the mic. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday. And obviously with birthdays there'll be cake as well afterwards. Okay, our upcoming programs. So as Hussein kindly announced for us, there's strawberry picking on Monday. So if you haven't registered, the link's been put on the WhatsApp group, and you have to do book your own tickets for yourself. The slots are getting filled very quickly, so if you want to come, please book quickly. Our next program will be on Thursday, 6th of June, and we'll send out the poster with more details very soon. Now, as you can see, we're trialing alternate Thursday and Friday programs for May and June. So we'd really appreciate if you can let us know your preference and your feedback, whether you like this Thursday and Friday alternate, or whether you prefer Thursdays only, so we can plan our future programs accordingly. And I'd like to end by doing a couple of announcements where we need your help, and I don't really like to request for contributions, but today I will do. So there's a couple of things we need help with. We'd like to purchase some table tennis tables for Time for Change. So after the programs, children and adults could enjoy and socialize. So the cost of 2 tables would be £600, including the rackets and the balls and everything. So we'd kindly request you all to donate whatever you can. So far, I think we've raised about £60 out of the 600, so it's not bad in 2 days, but inshallah we're hoping that after 2 days we'll have raised a little bit more. And also, we would like your support in order to cover the cost of our programs. T4C would like to kindly request you to set up a standing order of any amount of your choice. This will help us not only for fortnightly programs. So just to give you an idea, our monthly cost for 2 programs altogether varies between £120 to £150, depending on attendance, what we have for refreshment, and so on and so forth. But it will also enable us to expand the variety of programs we can offer. So the T4C volunteers, so our teams, we've been the first ones to set up our standing orders before we even requesting you to do that. So our team's already done that. So any amount you could donate would be greatly appreciated. So any contribution you can make them through the link that's been shared on the WhatsApp group or the QR code that's by the refreshments. We have PayPal, bank transfer, card machine, cash, whatever you want. If your contribution is specifically for the table tennis, then can you please put that in the reference or let any of the volunteers know. Thank you so much. And if you can please recite a Surah Fatiha for Marhum Shiraz Alu, Marhuma Maryam Bai Hassan Ali Walji, and all Marhumin Al-Fatiha. So cake and refreshments will now be served in the conference room. And